You know, kids, and when I say kids, I mean teenagers. I think it's kind of insulting to call teenagers kids, because you call little kids kids, for fuck's sake. But kids are drinking and doing drugs and having sex, and it seems like everyone has a theory as to why. It's one of these big questions that comes up in America every few years or so, or maybe once a year. At some point, some moralizing jackass asks the question, why are the kids doing this? Why are they behaving in this fashion? We have this big-ass teen pregnancy problem in America. Our teen pregnancy rate is the highest in the developed world. Most of the countries that have higher teen pregnancy rates are countries where teens getting pregnant isn't even stigmatized. Little obscure nations with hard to pronounce names. That's the only people that are getting teens pregnant faster than those in the good old US of A. You know, 46% of teenagers age 15 to 19 have had sex at least once, and the other 54% were probably playing World of Warcraft. There's also a big teen alcohol problem. About 28% of teenagers drink on a regular basis. Remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? There was 4 of them. According to this statistic, at least one of them was probably an alcoholic. I'm thinking maybe Raphael. He did seem to have those anger issues. Then again, maybe Donatello, because, you know, they wouldn't trust him with anything but a stick. It's like, hey Donatello, we're not going to give you anything sharp because we know you like to drink, so here, just wallop him with this stick. Plus, he was the intellectual of the group, so he might have had that Ernest Hemingway thing going on, you know, tortured soul and all that. 32% of 12th graders use weed regularly. 1 in 10 high school seniors have used Vicodin recreationally, and 1 in 20 have used OxyContin. 46% of 12th graders have used at least one illegal substance. And the other 54% were too high to complete the survey. You wonder why little Billy can't get an A in math class? It's because he doesn't know he's in math class. He thinks he's in meth class, and the numbers are doing a little jig. Hey, why is 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9, man! Fucking cannibalistic numbers, man! Oppressive society, man! I don't know how to fucking deal with this shit. I'm freaking out, man! I can hear colors and see sounds! And a lot of people ask, why are the kids behaving like this? There are a lot of theories out there. I'm going to explore some of the main ones. One of the big theories is that it's because we took prayer out of schools. If only the kids could pray, they wouldn't act like this. Back when kids could pray in school, this kind of shit just didn't happen. I scoured the internet and I actually found some comments from people who believe that shit. It's time to get prayer in there. Our children are suffering. Our founding fathers were all Christian, and we came here for religious freedom. It's freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. From is all caps. Capital F, capital R, capital O, capital M. That's very important. There's a lot of Jews and Muslims in public schools, but it'll help them too. That's a comment from Trey. You know, kids can pray in schools. They just don't. You see, they didn't ban prayer from schools in 1962. They just banned teacher-led or mandatory prayer. Kids can still pray, they just don't. Well, I'm sure some do, but I went to school and I never saw it. I never saw anyone praying. Not at the beginning of the day, not during lunch, not silently to themselves in class. I didn't see it, not one damn time. And I didn't live some secular paradise up there in the north. I lived in the dirty boot of the Bible Belt, Louisiana. And I never fucking saw anyone praying. So kids have the option to pray, but they don't. Trey says that the founding fathers were all Christian, which is not an accurate statement.
Thomas Paine authored a book called The Age of Reason, wherein he strongly challenged the legitimacy of the Bible and calls it mythology. He believed in God, but he did not hold to Christian dogma. John Adams once wrote, "This would be the best of all possible worlds if there were no religion in it." James Madison said, "During almost 15 centuries has the legal establishment of Christianity been on trial. What have been its fruits? More or less, in all places, pride and indolence in the clergy, ignorance and servility in the laity, in both superstition, bigotry, and persecution." Thomas Jefferson has numerous quotes on the record that make it very clear, while he believed in God, he did not hold to Christianity. He called the Gospels defective and doubtful, and said that Christianity neither is, nor ever was, a part of the common law.
Since prayer has been taken out of the school system, we have seen a decline in our children, with perversion, gangs, homosexuality, and murder, to name a few. Satan knows if he can attack our children, he has attacked our future, and that's Deborah. Okay, well, mandatory teacher-led prayer was banned in 1962. So, if taking prayer out of schools is what started all this mess in the first place, then 1960 should have been just peachy keen. But it wasn't. Many schools were still segregated at that time, so racism was a problem, and there was almost no acceptance of homosexuals whatsoever, so homophobia was a problem, although I guess they didn't consider it to be a problem then, and the people who write these kind of letters don't consider it to be a problem now. They consider acceptance to be the problem. But at least kids weren't doing drugs. Oh wait, yeah, they were. Why do you think they made films like Reefer Madness in 1938?
And Linda says the man who sells them told her they wouldn't hurt it. Come on, give me one. I haven't got any more.
Do you think they made a film targeted towards teenagers against smoking weed because teenagers weren't smoking weed and were at no risk for smoking weed at any point in the near future? No, they made it because they knew kids were smoking weed. You don't waste money making videos against things that people have no urge or indulgence to do in the first place. They were smoking weed. That's why you had an anti-weed campaign. So, prayer didn't make anyone realize that segregation was wrong. God talks to us, but he never tells us anything useful like, hey, don't discriminate against people who look different than you. God left that one out. And it didn't solve the homophobia problem. Well, it made the homophobia problem worse. I mean, Leviticus, hey, right? And it didn't stop kids from doing drugs, but maybe it stopped them from having sex. No, I'm sorry, it didn't even stop them from having sex. In fact, the teen pregnancy rate in the 1950s was higher than it is today. And that's factoring in abortion. That's not the reason. The reason is there were more pregnancies.
Throughout the 1950s, the rate of teenagers aged 15 to 19 getting pregnant was around 80 or 90 per thousand. Today, it's around 71 girls out of every 1,000 that get pregnant. This decline is not due to abortion because abortions are factored into the statistic.
In other words, prayer is useless. It doesn't stop kids from having sex. It doesn't stop kids from doing drugs. It doesn't make them more accepting, more enlightened. It doesn't make them better people. It doesn't do anything. Prayer is fucking useless. It does zip, zilch, nada, nothing, not one fucking result. Get the fuck out of here. What other theories are there? The prayer thing doesn't add up. Some people say that it's the media. The media makes sex and drugs and alcohol look so damn glamorous that kids just can't fucking help themselves. My favorite TV character drinks and does drugs and has sex with random anonymous women, so I have to too. Not because I want to, but because the character on TV does.
But remember our good friend, the 1950s? Remember how I was just talking about how the 1950s weren't really all that different from today? Well, there is one major difference. Back then, in the 1950s, the media was pretty much devoid of sex and drugs. And yet, people still had sex. Otherwise, how could we possibly be here? And they still did drugs. This includes teenagers. Teenagers were fucking, and they were doing drugs, and they were drinking alcohol, even when the media wasn't really pushing it on them. But if you want to go even further back, let's open our Bible to Numbers. Numbers 31, 17, and 18. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. This is God commanding Moses and his army to rape the virgin daughters of their slain enemies. What kind of mass media was influencing Moses? I think that sex and drugs and violence must have always been pretty popular, because if you are being told to slaughter your enemies and to have sex with their virgin daughters by an invisible voice in the sky, then you're horny and you're on drugs and you're a pretty violent motherfucker. I have my own theory. Are you ready for my theory, America? Are you ready for my theory, planet Earth? Here's my theory. I think that teenagers have sex and drink alcohol and do hard drugs for the same reason that adults have sex and drink alcohol and do hard drugs. Because it's fun! This isn't a hard sell. It's not even a sell at all. Do you guys want to follow your natural biological imperatives to have sex? Why, yes, we do. Hey, do you want to take this illicit substance which will make all of your problems disappear from your mind and relieve all your stress and anxiety? Why, yes, I think I do want that. It's not tough to sell to people. People already want it. You don't need a slick media campaign to sell it to people. That's my theory, but hey, I'm probably fucking stupid. It's probably because we don't give Jesus enough thanks, and because you saw Bruce Willis or some shit do it in a movie once. Give me a fucking break. The November 1st deadline for ordering my book, The Final Revelation, is fast approaching, so if you've been procrastinating and saying you're gonna buy it, and you haven't bought it just yet, now's the time to do so. I might extend the deadline to the 5th, but that's the absolute longest we can keep it going. It just depends on what kind of demand we're seeing at that point. A lot of people have asked what the book is actually about. It's not about anything, it's not a novel, it's a collection of essays on a wide variety of topics. I'm far too scatterbrained to stay on one topic throughout an entire book. But it offers some of my insights and perspectives onto a lot of issues, kind of like a more fleshed out version of what I do on YouTube. So, if you want it, order it now, because you won't be able to get it in a few days. By the way, if you haven't been watching my stuff on That Guy with the Glasses lately, I've been doing a lot of really good shit over there. I did a history of the vampire, I did a comparative analysis of NOSFERATU and Dracula, the 1931 version.